Hello, everyone. Welcome to another stream. Hope you're doing well. Okay, how's everyone doing? So this is going to be a short stream, but we are going to look into the ReactJS course that I'm about to publish on Udemy. So we are going to hopefully just move a few things here and there, ask some questions, and then I'll be on my way. This is what's happening at the moment. We'll keep this on as well. There we go. Okay, awesome. So yes, I'm also gonna try to. Okay, good. I finally found a way of looking into the live chat. No, not there. Here I can see the chat. Good, awesome. I'm gonna put it on the other side of my. And there go. Awesome. So awesome. Thank you everyone who's joining. Good afternoon, good evening. How's it going? I see Penelope, ASDF, or other people. Interesting. So what we are going to do is we are going to move. I think we can probably this guy. We're going to move a couple of things. This is sort of a preview of the course that we are going to have on Udemy, and this is going to be in the language Urdu/Hindi. So if you understand the language, then that means you will be able to work with this. This used to be in some other platform, but I'm trying to move it to Udemy, and so far it has more than 13 hours or almost 14 hours of content. So right now I'm going to be actually adding some questions to the React router thingy. So if you can think of good questions for React or React router, type in the comments. I'll make sure to see if I can add that as well. Maybe we can. I don't know. I think this guy as well. Yeah. So this is much better. Okay. Good. So what is the React router used for? Do you know? Does anyone know what is the React router used for? Let's have a bunch of answers here. So we have this, creating multiple pages within an application. We have handling server side. And we also have navigation between different routes or different websites. Which one do you think is the correct one? First, second, or third? Interesting. All right. So I'm gonna proceed forward. So what is the React router used for? It's used for creating multiple applications within an application, or you can say within a single page application. We can also, we can either say React router is used for creating multiple pages within an app. Or we can make it interesting to say single page application, so to say. But that means we are talking about a single page application and not. So handling server-side routing in an application, navigating between different websites, or we can say navigating between multiple websites, so to say, to keep it real. Then we can mark the one that is correct, which is this one. So we mark this as correct. And then we also select which lecture do we discuss this in. So we do discuss this in the first one, which is setting up routes with React. Oh, this should say React router. So we can use this and also save this guy. And here, this should be called setting up routes with React router. So we save the lecture there. And maybe we can also, this one, we move this bit to the, I think this is much more clear now. So we added our first question. Let's add a new question. I wish there was a way of adding multiple questions within a single go, but it seems like I have to add one question at a time, which is not fun. What does the create browser router method from React Router DOM help create? We've got in this, which is reducers for state management. Then we also have routers for side or client side routing. And then we have utility functions. So either of those three. Okay. Okay, good. Sounds good. So we're gonna go with routers for client side routing. And we use this in exactly one thing. So when we use the router, which is setting a route with React router. So that's the one. Alrighty, then let's move to the other one. So we had a new question. What is the common scenario in web development where route loaders are useful? We have a bunch of choices here. So we either loading the web application from AWS. We have fetching data from external source. And then we also have this guy, loading data after the component has rendered. So the correct one is if you're actually working with React and you're using the loader function, this route loader, this is really important. Not a lot of developers know how to actually use the route loader functions. But in the course, we cover that. And they are basically used for fetching and displaying data from external source and not the other things. So we're going to keep that. And we have the lecture around, where is it? Not here. So we have React router and then loader functions and route params. So that's the one. All right, let's add a new one. Question 3 we just did. Question 4 is this one. What is the purpose of implementing a route loader for context list, for a context list page, so to say? So here we would have to optimize the loading time for context list. We could also have to dynamically fetch and display context list, or to add and delete contacts. So ideally, it could be that you use it for adding and delete contacts, or It could also be that you use the loader function to dynamically fetch and display the context list if the parameters change. So in this particular case, this is going to be the right answer and not the other one, not the other way around. So it's going to be still the loading route with route params and loader function. Then we also have this guy. What is the goal of using React Router action functions with the form component? And this is also one of the techniques that I discussed in one of my YouTube videos on how you actually use React Router or the action functions with the form component. So you don't have to code a lot of things and you still get the output pretty easily. So we're gonna see the options now. So we have dispatching actions to the Redux store. We can also say for the route actions, we can talk about creating context or deleting context. And then here we have managing components. Ramo says, what should I learn, Angular or React? It depends on what you like, to be honest. I would say try both and see which one do you like. I personally like Angular much more than React, to be honest. But you can decide just by trying out. So try to create a to-do application, for example, and see what you like more. Both of them have quite equal opportunities, React and Angular, when it comes to the job market. A lot of startups try to use React, and a lot of enterprises prefer Angular. So if you intend to work in like a big company, then you should try looking into Angular. And if you're looking to join a startup or a medium scale company, so to say, they're more likely to use React. Um, but it also depends then from company to company. So, so React or Angular, try it out, see which one you like, and then pick and take it from there. I hope that makes sense. So in this case, we have creating the context or delete context, etc. So what is the goal of using React Router action function in the form component? When you're actually trying to use the form component, you're going to not manage the component state. You're not going to dispatch actions to Redux store. You're rather going to create or delete these things. By the way, those of you who are watching the stream, feel free to send a question in the chat or interact with others. That's what the streams are for. All right, so we discussed this form actually in working with forms and React Router. So we're going to save this guy. Then let's go with the next question. So what do we use from React Router in React components to trigger route actions? So what do we use? Ramo says, I tried Angular and your 90 minutes crash course and was the most helpful resource. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Stay tuned for one more thing. I'm working on something really cool. I'm gonna give you a quick sneak peek of it. So I'm working on a book named Modern Angular and Mastering Angular Signals, which is going to contain a lot of good information about the modern Angular and signals, of course, but it contains a lot of cool things like, change detection cycles, how does RxJS work. So just a quick sneak peek. I'm not going to go too much into it, but you can see from the outline, there are going to be a lot of good things. So if I remember correctly, I planned 10 chapters and now I'm on 6, but I'm still thinking over how to improve the chapter 6. So it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be focused towards Signal quite a lot, but then still it's going to be about Angular in general. And the best thing is going to be that there are going to be a lot of projects. So hopefully soon, keep the notifications open for the YouTube channel, and hopefully you'll hear soon. Okay, so what are the options here? So we have, what do we use from React Router React component to trigger route actions? We have the form element. We can move this to code. Then we have the form component. This is going to be in the code. We have the use form hook, going to be in code. And then we have the form component, this guy. And the correct answer is going to be form component. Ramos says that's cool. Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can self-publish it on Amazon KDP, and we'll see how that goes. So the form thingy, we still looked at it in the forms. So working with forms and router actions. This is going to be the one. Afra says, sir, moving European countries on job base is easy or on study base? With job, it's going to be really difficult if you are trying to move for a job, unless you're a really good software engineer or really good for the company that's trying to hire. So if you're a really good match, then yes, you can go. When it comes to studies, it's a bit easier. For example, I think the way Germany handles sort of opportunities for coming to Germany on a study visa is quite, sort of say, not lenient, but they have more opportunities because Germany actually needs a lot of people within the country. So it's quite it's a bit easier to get into Germany on a study visa. For Sweden, it's not as easy, unfortunately, now because of the embassy, the Swedish embassy in Pakistan. So it's not really that easy. But Germany is a bit easier. Italy is a bit easier, uh, as far as I know. But yeah, you can. I mean, you can keep applying to all the places, and it doesn't really hurt. You may end up actually in a country. So yeah, that's that. Can there be a React route that doesn't render a component at all? So can there be a React route that does not render anything at all? Yes or no? Do we know? Does anyone know in the chat if you're working with React and you have a route that does not render anything at all? Is that possible or no? What do you think? Is that possible at all? So when you're having a React component, a route or React route, not a React component, a React route that does not have anything at all. I'm going to try to configure my Stream Deck. Sorry. Seems like there is something wrong. Uh, okay. It is. Bilal Suri says yes, it is possible. What do others think? Is it possible to have a React component that does not render anything, or a React route that doesn't render anything at all? Should we ask an AI? Maybe. Let's try asking Gemini. We're gonna try to ask Gemini 2.0. Okay. Can there, and we are asking, like, Google's models are obviously one of the biggest models, or one of the most prominent models. It's a bit questionable situation if a Google model is the best model for coding or not. But let's say if we ask, can there be a React route that doesn't render anything at all? And I want to compare the questions within some other prompts as well, so, or other AI models as well. Let's also ask DeepSeek as well, and we are going to use the DeepSeek's R1 model. Even though it's like relatively easy question, I think still it would be interesting to see the thinking process here. And those of you who don't really know DeepSeek is a Chinese company which released the version 3 model of DeepSeek, but this R1 is a model, an AI model that actually thinks, or you can actually see what it is thinking. So now we are asking, can there be a React route that doesn't render anything at all? And we're going to try the same thing with ChatGPT as well. So let's try to ask, we're going to ask the, we're going to try to use the O1 model, right? So let's compare the results from all of these AI models, not this one. So let's first have a look at what Gemini says, right? So Gemini says, yes, absolutely, you can have a React route that doesn't render anything at all visually. Here's how and why you might do it. So not only this tells how it is possible, but also why would someone you do it, or why would someone do it at all. So the key is to render null or undefined within the component associated with your route. So here's an example. So here we're actually defining the router. We're defining the routes here, and this silent route uses the null route component. Daniel, thank you so much for the follow. So here we have null component, which is being rendered in silent route. And why would you do it? So here, there are several scenarios where you may need to do it. Performing side effects. So you could still go to a route and make an API call, for example, on the backend, and you don't render anything at all. Quite possible. So you go to the particular route, you make an API call, and then you navigate to the route. This is really handy for specific things. For example, when I try to go from Angular Cookbook's perspective, I'm going to show you something really cool. So if I go to repositories, and don't mind the UI, I'm using the dark mode, which basically, triggers everything black. So if I go to Angular Cookbook, and this is an example where you may want a route that does not render anything at all. So not here actually. Let's see if I can go back to my profile. And if I go to the cookbooks second edition, by the way, there's quite possible that we release the third edition pretty soon. It's not this one actually. It should be SNIR/ng cookbook. So in here, we have a particular route which does not render anything, or it renders something, but not really something important. So in here, it basically quickly comes in, gets the snippet ID, and then navigates to that particular page. So it moves away with the window location href, as you see here. So in this particular case, if I show you the snippets, and maybe we can take an example. So if I go to source assets, we should have like a snippets.json. So here we have a JSON, right? So if I try to go to a link like ngcookbook.com/snippets or /s/, and then if I go to this route, is that not the one? My bad. Let me have a look at what route I've configured. If I go to app routes, and here we have s/id. Interesting. I think the route has to be this. Yeah. So we go to this particular page that shows a loader, and then immediately it goes to the redirect link. So in my case, I still show a loader to the user because I don't want them to see a blank screen. But it's quite possible that you go to a particular page, you don't render anything at all. So that's what it has said. Interesting. So this is why you would do it. You could also have redirection logic, which is actually what I did with my Angular application. So you may want to have a silent route. You may want to just go back to homepage. You could also navigate to other pages as well. It's quite possible as well. And you could also have route middleware. So these are the responses that, or this is the response that the Google Gemini 2.0 Flash experimental, which is quite a nice model, to be honest, this has given us. Now let's have a look at ChatGPT. So ChatGPT thought about this for a few seconds and then said, yes, you can create a React route that renders nothing. Now, how does it work? Quite similar example. Here it says no UI. If we compare this to Google's response, the naming that they picked was a bit interesting. Wellington Sanvera, good afternoon. I'm from Brazil. Hey, how's it going? So silent route was the one that they picked. And if I look here, it's like no UI. And in there, we still have a component. So you still have to give this give this component an element, or a route an element, which is interesting. And in the no UI, you just return null. Instead of doing like creating a component, you could just have given null here as well, which could still work. So it's interesting. Um, it's interesting what the response is. So first, two things. One, it says how you do it, which is similar to what Gemini did as well. So it said how to create this. And then it also said, why would you use a silent route? And in here also, it says why you might do this, which is fascinating in terms of how this is responding. Both of the models are responding quite in a similar manner. Am I the only one who thinks this is a bit weird? Or is there a conspiracy theory here as well? Should we be like, what's happening here? So it's interesting why both of them do exactly the same thing. You says, hey man, is it still worth learning? Python, is it too late? Will AI take over? A lot of interesting question. So I would say Python. Python is a really good programming language. You should learn it. I I think now I'm at a point where I had to learn it, or I made a decision that it's not going to be easy without learning it. So I'm learning it, but I'm a very newbie when it comes to Python, but I'm still learning it. And let me tell you why. So I've been coding for more than 11 years now, and I've worked as a front end developer. I've worked as a senior software engineer. I've worked as a team lead, a full stack developer, and a software architect. So my current position is a software architect at a company named Scania, which builds trucks. It's one of the biggest companies in the Europe, and I'm working there as a software architect. But despite of having all this experience, I find it really hard to create an innovative project today that solves a problem and doesn't involve AI. So it's really fascinating. Like with all this hype, I never thought of jumping on the hype train at all. But now when I see the solutions being built, it's really hard to keep yourself away from this. So I would still say Python is a really good language because you can create obviously, backend applications with that if you're using Flask or Django or something else. And then you also have the possibility to work with data science. You also have the possibility to, go into AI and build agentic solutions or whatnot. So I think Python and AI is something that almost every developer should start looking into. That's my humble personal opinion. Ramo says, I'd love to have more basic Angular tutorials if you have the time. Of course, is there anything in particular, Ramo, that you would want to see? Are you looking for more examples or core concepts, or are you looking for projects? So let me know in the chat as well. You says, thanks for the help followed. No problem at all. Happy to help. All right, so back to this. So why you might do this? So side effects only. So if you have a React route that just navigates or redirects, then you could have that as well. Sorry, if you have a side effect, for example, logging, analytics, or data fetching without displaying a component, you would want to do it this, and also redirects or conditionals, which makes sense because this is probably the majority of the cases that I personally do when I'm working with React. And by the way, if you can also share this stream on your profile or whatever, that would really help in spreading the message as well. All right, so we have things to keep in mind: SEO implications. If SSR like, that makes sense. So things to keep in mind. This is something that we did not really get here, or did we? From Gemini, did we get? Oh, no, we did get important considerations. So no visual content. Did it also mention SEO? Look at this. So Gemini also mentioned about SEO. Be mindful of the SEO implications. If you're using these routes for redirection or data fetching, make sure you don't intentionally harm your site's searchability. Interesting. And it's quite the same sort of, layout of how the AI is responding. And then we have the conclusion. Here we also have the summary. Now let's have a look at what DeepSeek R1 told us. So we're gonna scroll a bit up. And this AI model, which is one of the latest AI models, which is being really hyped in the AI community or developers community even, is because it also shows you how it thinks. And the difference between this and the other AIs is that this model tries to reinforce the solution or the optimized way or the optimized answer based on its own thinking process. like a human, which is interesting. So here it says, okay, the user is asking if it's possible to have this and that. And then it's like, so in React Router, when you define a route using route component, you typically specify a component or element to render the path matches. So it's kind of analyzing what happens in React usually. And it's like, wait, sometimes you might want a route that just performs some action like redirecting or fetching data without rendering anything at all. Now it also looks into React Router version 6, which is interesting, that this is where we have the navigate component coming in. So that's really interesting how this AI model tries to figure out things, which is fascinating, right? And then if you look at the output that this AI model gave to my simple question, can there be a React route that doesn't render anything at all? Is yes, it's possible to create a React route that does not render anything. There are two common approaches. So render null in the routes component, which means you can say empty component here. And if it's the case that you are going to use this in other places as well, then you may as well just create this empty component. And then you can use it like this. And the naming convention obviously is a bit different. So coming back to Gemini, Gemini called this silent route. ChatGPT or 4.0 basically called this no UI. And then we've DeepSeek that just says empty. Okay. So first case is just rendering null. And then we have redirect immediately. So instead of rendering anything at all, this AI model suggests that you could also use this for redirecting immediately. So in this case, you can use just navigate to and then go there. Now, if you want to handle side effects without UI, that means you are going to give this side effect component and use the use effect. And then you basically do something from here. So rendering nothing. This is interesting. Why? Okay. So this is the component. This is the use effect. And you're basically returning null. That makes sense. Then we have the key takeaways. Now, what lacks in this particular model is that this doesn't really talk about SEO at all. So, that's a bit sad. Should we try to ask the non-thinking model the same question and see what comes out of it? Maybe we can try that. So new chat, and we're gonna ask the same question, but the model of DeepSeek that does not think or doesn't show us the thinking in this case. So I want to see what is the difference between this model and the other model. So this one gives the answer quite quickly. It still uses the same sort of naming convention, which kind of shows that probably both of those models are quite related to each other. And then we have the explanation. So we have this, then we have the use cases, but there's no warning or implication unlike Gemini. So if I say SEO, you can see that there's nothing related to SEO. Whereas when we asked ChatGPT, it did mention SEO or things to keep in mind, even though if we are trying to do something. And then when we look at this as well, this also mentions this, which is interesting because I believe that both these models, Gemini from Google and then ChatGPT from OpenAI or closed AI, so to say, are basically using or implementing these guardrails, or what we also sort of take into the consideration of the ethical or responsible AI, where you're trying to, or the AI model is trying to suggest something, but it also warns you of the consequences of it. But it seems like DeepSeek doesn't care. It's like the big brother who says, yeah, go on, try to ride that that particular roller coaster and see for yourself what happens. So not too bad, to be honest. I think it's good. Overall, we could see the output. So I'm happy about it. So I hope this gave you some nice idea as well. All right, Ramo says, I missed your message. So what are you saying? Saying I love to have more basic Angular tutorial. I'm looking for more in-depth tutorial about basic things like, for example, routes. I only know how to redirect to home, but I don't know how to work with information saved in the URL or how to use storage. Okay, in the browser. So yeah, just extended tutorials on basic Angular features. How to work with states in Angular since I'm completely new to front end. Okay, I'm gonna try to create videos around that, to be honest. But that's a really good input, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I've been working with Angular for so long. I don't really even think now that these things are worth creating videos about. So I think now that you've mentioned it, I'm going to look into it as well. One of the reasons that I also don't really create so basic tutorials anymore is because I published a book as well, the angularcookbook.com as well. So I'm going to show you in just a bit. First, I'm going to write what you asked me to do. So basic tutorial, so I don't forget it. And those of you who are new to the channel, if you go to YouTube or any other platform and try to find Code with Ahsan, you're gonna find me basically. So the book that I was talking about is this. So ng-cookbook.com. And when you go there, we have a little AI implemented here as well. Do you want to see? So here, if you ask like who wrote the book, the AI agent will basically give you the answer of who wrote the book. Now, when you ask the same question to ChatGPT or Gemini, obviously, you're gonna have to specify which book you're talking about. But when you go to the NG Cookbook or ngcookbook.com, then it knows about the context and it also knows about a lot of things from the book as well. So, what I would actually recommend you is even if let's say I mean it's not in my interest, but let's say you don't want to pay anything at all, you could still go here and you could still try to ask the same question. For example, you mentioned um how to work with state in Angular. So how to work with state in Angular. What this AI agent does is going to not only give you an answer which is like a generic answer of what you're looking for. If anything as such exists in my book, it will also give you the relevant links to the code which is public out there, so you can just go and go to GitHub, try those projects, look into the source code, try to understand yourself. But you can also try the demos as well. For example, um thank you so much for the follow, Moonlight. Thank you for the follow, Vaughn. Thank you for the follow, Shiu, Abdulaziz, and Abdulie Matino. Thank you. How's it going, by the way? So here you can see this one is the first one. So reactive state management with the NGRX, and this is the demo link. So if you go here, you can see that this is like state management using the NGRX library. So you can actually try to add a bunch of items to your bucket, refresh, and you can see that they are still there. Because when you, and my camera just died. No, it didn't die, sorry. My camera is going to die very soon. So what happens is when you try to create these objects, it not only creates them here, but it also saves them at the same time into the local storage. So if I go here, if I go to the storage, you're going to find them in local storage right here. So here you can see that we have our nice little apple and the second apple as well. We should actually, no, this is the one, bucket NGRX actions. So here we have 3 of these apples. And if you want, we can basically remove them as well. So if I remove this, you can see that now we have only 2. And you can see that I can actually remove all of them. So try to go to this ng-cookbook.com and basically ask any questions about Angular. And you will see the code and you'll see the deployed version as well. So we have a bunch of recipes. So we have this one, reactive state management with NGRX. And we have this recipe, creating your first NGRX store. That's the first one. Then we have using NGRX store dev tools to debug the state as well. And then we also have using NGRX selectors to select. Basically, this whole chapter, which we have here, is based on state management. So it can find this from my book, and then it can respond to you on what is relevant. You also asked something about yeah, how to retrieve information in the URL. So here you can also ask how to retrieve information from the URL in Angular. And to be honest, this is the first time I'm trying to do this. All right. So there's a question that says, hello, sir, is it still worth to learn Laravel? Yeah, PHP Laravel is still, I mean, there are a lot of companies out there still use Laravel and PHP. The job opportunities, I'm not sure if there are as many, but still, I think there are opportunities out there. So if I would say try to keep your job search according to the opportunities out there. So search LinkedIn for jobs and see which companies are looking for those developers, and then you can try to learn relevant technologies. I think that's what I would basically do. Ramo says, yes, I wanted to buy it, but you just mentioned the V3 of the book, so I'm going to wait. Yeah, absolutely. Wait for it. But you can still, I mean, you can still look the code for free. So here it says Angular navigation and routing. So working with the route parameters, and this shows you actually when you want to work with route parameters. For example, if you click this guy, you see the address bar. So the ID of the selected user is here, and then that user is shown here. So when we click a particular user here, let's say Ruben, then we go to a route that has the ID of Ruben, and then this page gets that ID and then shows that particular user. So it's really interesting how I was able to create these projects, because I don't even remember how I did that. I mean, I didn't even remember I had so many projects. So it's interesting, and I'm super excited for there's a conference happening in Stockholm, Sweden, on February 4th. So I'm going to be speaking at the conference, and I'm going to speak about how I created all the projects that we just saw, like these projects, and what were the challenges, and how did I migrate more than 150 projects. It's going to be super interesting, so I'm super excited. No problem, no problem at all. All right, we have a few more questions. Justice Zomiko says, I need your help. Can I DM? Yes. If you're not going to ask me for, to send a couple of dollars to you, then I think I'm good. I think those are the DMs that I've started to get quite a lot. Hey, do you have this USDT? I have this and that. How do I send it to you? I'm like, no, don't send me, because it's stupid. But anyways, but Ramo, I'll keep you posted, or you'll see from YouTube when we get the book. All right. Cool. Awesome. So let's go back to the React thingy. So can there be a React route that doesn't render a component at all? Yes. The answer is yes. And we talked about that in this lecture where we look at, I think we look at it in this particular active links styling, I think. I'm pretty sure, but I'm going to double check it as well. And let's go back to dark mode, because now my eyes would start hurting. All right. One more question. By the way, I would highly appreciate if you can hit the like and share this stream, because then we can reach more people, answer more questions, and make the world a better place, one answer at a time. So how can you default? This doesn't sound interesting or actually correct as well. How can you make a I think it should be, how can you make a default route as a nested route within another route? So we have a couple of options that we see here. We got this guy. And by the way, I already created these questions before, so I'm just copy pasting them. Thank you so much for liking the stream. I appreciate it. Thank you, Farouk. Okay, so we have, how can you make a default route, or how can you make a default route a nested route with another route? This question is so confusing. I'm gonna try to make it a bit easier. I don't know why didn't I think of it before. But those of you who don't know what's happening right now, I'm actually creating a Udemy course, which is going to be Practical React JS Essentials. This is going to be in the language Urdu/Hindi. So those of you who understand it will obviously be able to get this and learn from it as well. We already have this on another platform. We have more than 150 people who are learning from this, but I'm bringing this to Udemy as well. So that's going to be super fun. So here I can actually use this. index equals true. I think it could be, how can you mark a nested route as a default route within a parent route? So I think this is a much better rephrasing of the question. So how can you mark a nested route as the default, or as not a default route, as the default route within a parent route? Ramu says, by the way, small improvement for the NG cookbook to redirect to fitting Amazon site if possible, because I get the redirected to the US side, but I'm in EU, Germany. Ooh, interesting. I'm wondering why doesn't that happen, but I'm gonna look into it. Thank you so much for the suggestion. So now I've gotten 2 suggestions from you. So Amazon redirect based on region. All right, Justice said you have sent me the DM. Thank you so much. I'll look into it as soon as possible. All right, I'm gonna try to also finish this this sort of migration as well. So okay, I want to build a shop management system with okay. The thing is, I have not worked with Laravel, so I'm not really sure. But I do know someone from my team who can help out. But I'm gonna get back to you. No problem. All right. So we have Farooq says, can I also send the DM? Yes, you can. Absolutely. Okay. So let's try to bring these guys into code, and this guy also into the code. So we have this, and this is the correct answer, by the way. So if you have a nested route in React, you either say index equals true, or you say the path is empty, and that basically marks it. Adil says, I know MERN decent level now. Should I go for Next.js or React Native? I mean, it really depends, Adil. If you want to stick with web development, I would say go with Next.js, or try to build something, because just because you know a particular stack doesn't really show that you are a really good engineer until you actually build some things out from them. So try to build a lot of stuff is what I would recommend. I try to build projects here and there quite a lot. For example, this ngcookbook.com, this AI implementation that you mentioned, or that I mentioned. So this is one of those things. Then we have a pulse checker that I've created, which basically helps take feedback from attendees or different people. If you just want a job, then you need to show that you actually can build projects. So whether if you go with Next.js or whether you go with MERN stack, you need to be able to show that you have the skills by showing your projects. For example, when I was working with MERN stack, I built this app named appflashback.com. And for some weird reason, I actually buy a lot of domains. So for example, this is not the UI, this is the UI. So this is a multiplayer game that I built using MERN stack. And this shows that I can develop, or I have the ability to work on the front end, on the back end, and also on the database. So this is one of the things that you want to do, that you create a lot of those sort of projects, and then you are able to show that to the recruiter. So just if you try to learn 10 different technologies, then you will not become an expert in anything at all, and that would hurt yourself in the long run. Because if I want to build something, I would go for a MERN expert or a Next.js expert. I won't go for a person who have worked 1 year on different technologies. So if you understand what I mean. Love, thank you for the follow. Farooq at the Missor, thank you so much for the follow as well. Does fasting help skin issues? I am not really sure about that. I've never done it for skin issues, to be honest. So I'm not really sure. but maybe it does. Should we ask the AI? I'm just kidding. We're not gonna ask AI. We don't ask AI health related things. Please don't. Okay, so this is the correct answer. And then we also had this guy. Let's actually put it here. Delete this guy, and this is gonna be this. Okay, and we actually discussed this in nested routes. So where are you, nested routes? Setting up routes, nested routes. There we go. Okay, awesome. Hope you release the Angular course on Udemy. Hopefully, yes. That's one of my goals in 2025, to also have an Angular course on Udemy as well. So fingers crossed. We'll see. Alrighty. By the way, have you, any one of you who's watching this, have you worked on any projects that are live? Do you want to show off those projects as well? Magaga says, do you know Scrimba? What do you think about it? What is Scrimba? Do we know Scrimba? Is that a React library? Interactive code learning platform. Learn to code with Scrimba. Aha, so building a memory game in React, advanced JavaScript. So do people create courses here, or what happens? Build a memory game. Okay. Boilerplate code. I like the animations, to be honest. Like this is smooth. Woo. I like this effect. I'll probably steal it for my website, but okay. I don't know. Has anyone in the chat used Scrimba at all? Saeed Amjad says, sir, please provide strategy on how to get remote job in Angular, as everyone is asking for ReactJS and I have 1 year of experience in Angular. The strategy is that you build cool projects, or projects in general. You make them good, or you make the UI nice to use. You make sure that it's playable or it's workable, and then you start sharing that on LinkedIn. Then you start getting feedback on your applications. Then you post about it more, that okay, I've changed this is a new feature I've added. Don't try to, please don't try to use AI for posting on LinkedIn. It is, so we don't want that. So try to post like a human, and then say, okay, I've implemented this feature, that feature. Ask everyone to try your projects out, and then get feedback. So what this will do is that this will put you in a really good position on LinkedIn. So that will teach you a lot. That's one. That will create your project. That's second. And then it will train the LinkedIn algorithm to put you out there to relevant people. And that is what you want to find a job. So I hope that helps. Please provide projects to get my resume shortlisted for companies hiring remotely. Sayyid Amjad, try to ask ChatGPT, to be honest, or DeepSeek or Gemini, because there are a lot of potential for projects. Just don't build a to-do application. Please build something else. Even if you want to build a to-do like application, build something else. I mean, build it as something that's not a to-do application. For example, when we're looking at this state management application, this is a bucket list, right? Now, when you think about it, it's actually a to-do list, because a bucket, it's like a list, but I don't call it to-do list, if you understand what I mean. So try to build those things, but don't call them to-do. That makes sense. Creation site says, do you have a React Native CLI courses? No, unfortunately not at the moment. I've been asked to create such projects, but I haven't been able to do so. So maybe in 2025, who knows? Right now, my focus is this React course, and then hopefully also the Angular book that I'm working on right now. I showed a sneak peek of the book. It's called Modern Angular. So it's gonna be interesting when this comes out. So this is the one that we are looking at. So mastering signals, but we'll see. We will see, but not soon. So we'll see when that happens. Adil says, sir, how can I find a job outside of India as a fresher? Uh, Here they ask a lot of DSA. Then you need to prepare for DSA, of course. The problem is every job is different, and even if you apply on the same at the same company, different teams have different criteria of hiring people. If you understand what I mean, right? So you still need to prepare for the particular uh, sorry, I'm doing a multitasking here. So you still need to prepare for the job, the specific job that you're applying for. So if you're applying for a front end job, then you need to prepare for front end. If you're applying for a software or senior software engineer's job, then you need to prepare for that. If you're applying for back end, then obviously you need to prepare for that. So everything that you're going to apply for, you need to prepare for that particular job. So it doesn't matter what your skill sets are, to be honest. And I'm going to say this again on the big screen. It doesn't matter what your skill sets are. If you're applying for a job, you need to prepare very well for the job from scratch. So you need to prepare for the interviews. That is going to be coding interviews. You're going to prepare for the behavioral questions, like, what is your biggest achievement? What is your strength? What is your weakness? Tell me about a time when you had a conflict with your peer and how did you solve it? Tell me about a time when you convinced your client about something that they were not aware of. Tell me about a time when you tried to give a suggestion to your manager but it was not approved. How did you feel about it? Or how do you prioritize your projects? Those kind of questions. Plus you also need to do DSA in jobs which actually want DSA. And then you also want to look into this uh what do you call the what is the first round of interview that almost every company now has? It's not the IQ or logical reasoning question. Sorry, I was trying to find the words. But logical reasoning questions are the questions which have like a sequence and series. Like you have four shapes and then they ask you what is going to be the fifth shape now, and then you have to think about it and then pick out of the four, like, this is the one. So those kind of things you need to prepare well, to be honest. And yeah, it doesn't matter how skilled you are. If you can't prepare well for the interviews, you're not gonna get the job. So you need to prepare well for each interview separately, completely from scratch. And you can't really rely on other things, to be honest. Is it gonna be free, the React JS course? No, sorry, unfortunately not. I put too much effort into actually building this, so it's not going to be free. Big Dave says, I want to be your student, please read my comments. Hey Big Dave, how's it going? Hello. Good. Thank you so much for the follow. Caleb. Caleb Quintana Casti. Thank you. Thank you so much for the follow. So Adil, I hope that helps. Let's also create the questions along the way as well. What types of testing? What are some types of testing discussed in the course? Actually, so we talked about unit testing. Stress testing. We discussed about unit testing and to end testing. And we also discussed about integration testing. Oh, sorry. No, I got the wrong question. What types of testing is discussed in the testing trophy? Big Dave says, will I pay boss? I don't know what you mean. If you want to get a one-on-one call, anyone who's watching this, you can go to this link. I'm going to share this in the chat. So if you go to topmate.io and go to my profile, Ahsan Ayaz, you can look into discovery calls or having a one-on-one mentorship, whatever, which means about 30 minutes of meetings. Feel free to do that. I'm going to paste this in the comment. So hopefully you find it easy. Okay, going back here. People in the Gulf want .NET Core with Angular. Should I go with .NET or Django? Also, nowadays, people are asking for hacker rank complex coding question test, how to prepare for it. you can look into this thing called neat code. So either go for hacker rank or lead code, but you can essentially learn from this neat code guy, which is on YouTube as well. I want you to teach me how to code, Big Dave. Okay, you can book a one-on-one meeting and this one, and then we can go through where you are, what are you looking for, and then we can see how, if I am able to help you at all. So this neat code guy is on YouTube as well. So if you go to YouTube, you're going to find a lot of solutions to algorithms or DSA questions. So prepare with this. Everything that you will take time. So I want you to relax, and I want you to keep this in mind that nothing is going to be super fast. You will have to spend a lot of time and effort in preparing for anything that you're looking for. So I hope that makes sense. Testing. Why do I have a capital T here? Small. Okay, so we got that, and then we have black box testing, unit testing, and integration testing. So the testing trophy, actually, for those of you who don't really know testing trophy, you can search it, and there is a really good or famous developer named Kenzie Dodds who actually talks about the testing trophy. So this is the testing trophy, which he shared in a tweet. I don't know, since now we have this X thingy, do we call it tweet still or something like Xed? I don't really know. Stupid. Okay, so we have the static, unit, integration, and end-to-end testing. So these are the testing these are the types of tests that you usually have within your organization or your company. So the most easy one is static. So this is like ESLint or TSLint, or when you run Prettier, this basically looks into your code and sees if there's any unused variable, blah, blah, blah. Then you have unit testing that actually tests each part or each unit of your code. Then you have integration testing that actually looks into multiple units working together. If you have like a form, and then you have the submit button, and then you have inputs. Let's say inputs are components and button is also component, then form is a component. Then how do all of them work together, or two units working together? When you look into end-to-end test, that means that you're testing like a user. So end-to-end test means that your browser is going to be open, then it will go to a particular URL, then it will go to the inputs, fill in the login email, fill in the password, click the submit button, and then it would expect that there was a toast showed that says success. That is like an end-to-end test. So the testing trophy basically talks about these things. And we discussed this actually, I think, into introduction to testing in React. That's where we discussed this trophy thingy. Alrighty. So let's move forward. Testing libraries. I'm gonna try to be a bit faster because then I have to go as well. So which testing libraries are, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna quickly answer Mocha and Chai, Cypress, Playwright. Then we have React. No, let's make it like this. VTest, React testing library, Cypress. Then we have VTest, React testing library, Playwright. Then we can also have this thing like, oops, no. How many did I add now? So Mocha and Chai, VTest, React testing library, Cypress, Playwright. Here we can change this to Jest and Playwright. I think that's more than enough to actually put it out there. So we don't need to say which lecture was. This is the right answer, by the way. Let's save this. Thank you. Awesome. So then we have the question 3, which is why is testing important in React? So let's quickly look into this. Why is testing important in React development as stated in the text? Not in the text, actually. Let's go there. So here, the first answer is to slow down the development process. No. The second is to catch bugs early. And then we have the third one that says to make the code a little more confusing. So this is like an easy one. And this is covered in the lecture called Introduction to Testing in React. We're going to still use that one. Okay, what is the main purpose of unit testing in React applications? What is the main purpose of unit testing in React apps? What do we think? So we have to test individual components for expected output given certain inputs. We have to test the entire application from start to finish to check the browser compatibility with different browsers. And we also have, give me 1 second. And then we also have to evaluate the user interface design. So this is the UI if we wanted to test that. But the answer is obviously this one, to test individual components for expected outputs. Save this. Oh, but there's a video that we have for this. So we have unit test with vtest. Then we have how can you create a mock function in vtest? That's an interesting one because not a lot of developers know that until they have actually worked with vtest. So vtest.mock, we have v.mock, v.mock. Then we have v.function, and then we have v.create mock function. So I think, I don't know, sir. So maybe we can say we test not create mock function, to be honest. And the correct answer is v.fn. And we talk about this when we try to use this mock function. So this should be, where is it? Writing unit tests with this, testing mocking props and file. This is the one. So we save this. And we have what is the prerequisite in vtest. So we have this right here. Awesome. So we have what is the prerequisite in vtest to fake timers when using set timeout, etc. So when you actually work with vtest and testing in ReactJS, then you actually look into this, into what really enables this. So is this the right answer? Do we think? I don't think so. Using v.use fake timers. Then we have this. So I'm gonna actually mark this as this. So v.use fake timers, and then we also have should advance time set to true. Now, only those people who have actually worked with React and vtest actually know that when we are actually running set timeouts, etc. in ReactJS with vtest, this does not work. The function is right, but this doesn't work. The absolute fake timers, this also doesn't work, unfortunately, because there is no such function or no such attribute. We have this should advance time. This is the correct answer. And then finally, we have using v mock timers. So this also doesn't work well. By the way, those of you who are watching, if you can share the stream, that would be really nice. And that would help others reach as well. So Francisca, Moose, Adibi, Ansley. All right, so let's also go and put this mock timer, which is also asynchronous behavior, mocking props and files. That's going to be the one. Again, the video course that I'm working with, that's going to be on Udemy, is about 14 hours big. It's going to be an absolute gigantic, nice course. How do you handle asynchronous behavior in tests with vtest? So we have a couple of possibilities. Only synchronous tests are possible. That means asynchronous is not possible at all. Otherwise, we have through manual timeouts. Then we have using async await within the test blocks. And then we have asynchronous testing is not recommended in vtest. So do we think that is the case, that asynchronous testing is not recommended at all? No, don't think so. The async await, not recommended. The right answer is that when you want to work with asynchronous behavior in React, you would want to basically click or use the async await. Thank you so much, Sean, for the follow. I appreciate it. All right, and we discussed this actually in the same asynchronous behavior, which is supposed to be right here. I'm gonna save this guy. Then we have the next question. How do we mock a third-party dependency on file in vtest? So sometimes when you're, okay, good. Sometimes when we are working with tests, you may want to mock a third-party dependency like Lodash, or if you're using Axios, or if you're using something related, then what do you do? So what function do we use in that case? So we have vtest.mock, we have v.mock, we have v.function that we can use. Oh, by the way, those of you who don't really know, vtest is the go-to framework now for testing. So Jest is really, really popular still, but a lot of new projects are just adopting vtest because it's so much easier to use. And it's also because vtest is based on Vite. So Vite is the new modern bundler for React. Anyways, this is the right answer. So we're going to save this guy. And then we looked at this in, I think, when we are looking at mocking props and files. So there we go. Awesome. Jonathan, thank you so much for the follow. Then we have, what aspect of React applications does Playwright primarily test? So when we look at Playwright, is it testing syntax errors in code? Is it testing performance metrics of a React application? Is it testing the user interactions and the flow of the application? Or is it testing code formatting? What do you think? Do we know? Thanks so much for the coins, me. Okay, so we have all these options. The right answer in this case is that Playwright tests the user interactions and the flow of application because it's more an end-to-end testing tool rather than the other options that we just saw. So here we're gonna put this lecture which actually covers this. All right, one more question to go. Now we have this thing right here. Can we mock React components in Playwright? And the answer is, do we know the answer? Should we ask another question from our AI folks? So let's ask this question from the AI. All three of them, okay? So first, let's do this like let's do this again. So I'm uploading my new ReactJS course on Udemy, and I wanted to ask one of the quizzes questions from different AIs, and this is how it went. So first, we're going to actually take this question and we're going to ask Google Gemini Flash 2.0. And I already asked another question before, but let's see what happens when we ask the question right here. So in here, it says, yes, you can absolutely mock React components in Playwright, and it's a powerful technique for isolating components during testing. Interesting. Why would you want to do it? A couple of answers here. And now it's saying that when we have this spec.js where we want to mock a particular component, it says should render the mocked component, okay? Then it essentially comes inside and here it says should fulfill. Now, for mocking the component, it's actually trying to intercept the HTTP call for the particular route, and then it's returning just this div. So it's sort of mocking the React component that we want to do. Now, the problem here is that this assumes that the whole page is what we are talking about as a React component. What if I have a component that is a nested component? So here it says using page.evaluate to modify components. This method lets you inject JavaScript code to the page's browser to manipulate or redefine the behavior of React components. This is much more powerful and complex mocks for complex mocks and can intercept the rendering at runtime. So in this particular situation, it's actually changing this my component equals function to my component mock. So where is this coming from? So window.mock component equals to true. Okay. Then it takes the actual component. Then it tries to redefine the function and then it generates a component itself. So it's trying to suggest us a way to mock the React component in a not so clean way, so to say. And then we have using page.route with a custom response. So this is what we already looked at. It just mocks the whole component. Interesting. Now let's go to ChatGPT 4.0 and we are going to ask the same thing. It's going to think for a while. I like that. Okay, so here it says short answer, Playwright doesn't provide a built-in way to mock React components the same way Jest does, which is actually the answer that I was looking for. So in this case, you can mock the network layer, which is what Gemini suggested as well. So you basically intercept the route and you return your own JSON, so to say. Otherwise, you use the Playwright component testing, which is in the preview right now, which kind of does the same thing as Jest. But here is what you would do. So it's a child mock component. And if you see here, it says component.mount, and then you say parent, and then you pass the child component as a prop. I don't really know. The fact is that when you're using Playwright, you're actually testing the UI, the application like a user. You don't really want to mock anything in that particular regard, and you want to use the application as real as possible, which is what this says. So you lose the real application behavior. Makes sense. Now we're going to go to DeepSeek and we are going to ask the same thing. And let's see what it says. So here, if you see mocking, but in end-to-end tests, you don't have direct access to React components because tests are run in a browser. That's the main thing. Jest has the sort of JavaScript DOM where everything is being rendered. But when you're running end-to-end tests, you're running this on a browser. So how can they mock components in Playwright? That's my question, basically. Now it is going to give the more or less the same answers. So we have page.evaluate, right? Or stub parts of the UI, which is probably going to be the same as injecting some JavaScript. So let's have a look here. So mocking the Playwright component testing. In this, we can say that this is the button component, which is the real button. And then your test file says this is the mocked component. And then it says mount and then override the button component in the test. So hooks config MSW overrides module button named export. Oh, interesting. I had no clue this was possible, to be honest. But this is something that I'm going to try myself and see if that actually works, or we'll see. Then mocking in Playwright end-to-end testing. Now for end-to-end testing, the first thing is if you can intercept the HTTP request, which is this page.route thingy, which we already saw in both of the other AIs. Then we have advanced override components via script injection, which Gemini basically suggested. So you could have your mock component, and then you try to say that if there's a require interesting, then you export the mock component. This is another interesting way. But again, I would have to try this out before I can actually recommend this to anyone else. Interesting. Anyways, so we saw all the three options of can we mock or React components in Playwright. The answer by default is no, or yes, or maybe. But the question can be a bit better. So can we mock React components Playwright using or easily, so to say? And the answer is no. And the reason for is that since here we can say correct, since Playwright does not provide a method for mocking or a way of mocking components like jest or vtest, it is not possible to do easily. Secondly, since Playwright runs the test in a browser window, yeah, we can also say in a browser, it doesn't have the context of React or React components, which is basically the reason why. And we can talk about this in the Playwright end-to-end test. So let's quickly create that. Good. Now we have done this. Now we have the final quiz, which I'm going to try to create as quick as possible. So give me one quick second. And then we have this guy. Then we go and try to go to quiz and we do edit. And how many questions does this have? 4. That's good. That's going to be faster then. What is the purpose of creating routes in a React application? Then we give the first answer: to enhance the user experience by facilitating navigation between different pages. Then we have to prepare for Redis store. And then we have to deploy multiple HTML files as routes. Good. This is the correct answer. And we actually talk about this in the routes. No, not testing in React. This actually, setting up routes with React. Then we have another question. Why is implementing a route layout important in a web application? And here we have the answer: to establish a brand identity for the app. Here we have to ensure all the pages here are consistent look and feel. Here we can say brand identity. And here we have to increase the security measures for the application. And finally, we have George. Thank you so much for the follow. To improve SEO ranking. So here we have the SEO ranking. So all of these can be the right answers. No, they can't, because the right answer is this one. So because it provides a consistent layout for the entire application, that's why having a route layout is important in an app. So we do discuss this in the configuring route layout for the UI consistency. Then we have the third question, which is, what role does checkout page play in e-commerce flow? So we're gonna say this and this. So what does it allow? It displays delicious pizzas available for order. It handles the payment process. It provides users with a snapshot of their cart's contents before making a purchase, or it calculates the total number of items in the cart. So all of these options are primarily possible. Thank you so much, Jimira, for the follow. Welcome. So the correct answer is the delicious pizzas are shown on the menu. The payment process is basically not on the checkout page. It's usually on, or it doesn't handle the payment process. That is the payment provider that handles it. This is essentially the reason. So it provides you the snapshot of the cart's content before making a purchase, and it doesn't calculate the total number of items in the cart. We discussed this in the checkout page. So here we have implementing the checkout page. And finally, we have this guy. What happened? Is it saving? Okay, saving, hopefully. Save. Okay, good. Then finally, we have this guy. What is the purpose of creating a Redux store? Redux lies for orders in an application. So here to manage the order related data within the store, to ask for payment for their orders, to improve the page load speed, or to add or remove menu items from the app. So the correct answer actually is, actually I should probably move this to the last one. And we can remove this one. To ask user for payment of their order, improve page load speed, add remove items, and basically to manage order related data within the store. So that's the right reason. And we do that when we implement creating orders and saving in Redux. Actually, I think that's pretty much it. We do have everything that we needed for publishing this course. I'm going to just set the videos that should be viewable, or that should have what do you call it, the free preview. So let's quickly have a look. I'm gonna quickly see the curriculum. Give me 1 second. We should have this in the home page, and I should be able to see this. No, I should be able to see in an incognito window. So we do have the preview set for course overview. The first one is free preview. The second one is free preview. Then we should also have setting up React with Vite. I think that should be also free to look at, which is set up React project with Vite. So this one, free preview, I think. And then we could also have one more, I think. Introduction to Redux, maybe. So assignment, no. 6 minutes of video, should we make it free? We could actually, I'm thinking now. No, not that one. Introduction to Redux, maybe. Because I think that could be free. So we go into understanding this one. Not this one. So we go to introduction to Redux, which should be inside state management. And here it is. So we make this one free preview. Then we also go for the last project, the final project that we build in this course. And that should be right here. Project introduction, this one. So we make this one free. Okay. And then we make the last one free as well. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe last one free as well. Good. I think we can actually wrap up. There's just one thing that is not published, but I think we don't need to have that. So what I'm going to do is, let's quickly switch to this guy, and we're gonna, I think we have a bunch of things that could go, and all of these things are now curriculum. I think the curriculums are good enough. Do we have to say submit for review? No. Captions are going to be optional, but I'm not really sure if we would be able to add a new language. Do we have Urdu? Ooh, look at this. We have Urdu here. Nice. Want to add, no, I actually want to remove English because it's not English, but we do have Hindi as well. Let's go. So how do we go to English and then we say disable, and we have Urdu and Hindi. So these are enabled. That's good. And we say all. So we go and select Urdu and we say all. Reach more students with translated options. Aha, okay. But I need to upload all of them. No, that's going to be tough. Captioned. That means I have to do it. Okay, we'll see. Then accessibility, course landing page, practical JS, essentials in Urdu, Hindi, and then we have the descriptions. we're gonna go with, I don't know, how do we can say Urdu beginner, IT certifications. What is primarily taught? Programming language. PHP, no. Or we can say ReactJS. And then we have the course image, promotional video, and then we have other things as well. But I'm gonna do it later. I think we're good, actually. So thank you everyone who joined. Thanks so much for the follows, everyone who joined today. And I'm gonna see you later. This was supposed to be a bit quicker, but we went 30 minutes over. So I'm gonna see you later. Take care.